race, the Giro d'Italia, which was a stage race in Italy. It happened to be on a year. You can show a picture of her with her competitors, and this guy, let's see, he's not giving her the sidelong look, but they weren't sure they wanted her in. However, the two top racers of the day, and that was like the mid-30s Great Depression period, all worldwide global food and economic depression. And the top riders didn't want to compete because they weren't getting paid enough. And in those days, they were getting paid in sacks of potatoes and a pig and 12 chickens or whatever. And so they knew a chick that would happily accept some sacks of potatoes and chicken. So since the two top guys, let's pretend they're Lance Armstrong and they just like, hey man, we're not working that hard for 15 days for no lousy 1 potato sack and 2 pigs. It's like 3 pigs bottom and 20 sacks of potatoes, and they didn't go for it. So they go, well, there is that odd, you know, Alfonsina Strada. So she got to run it when she ended up getting crashing and not quite meeting any time minimum. The spectators rioted, said she's got to be in the race. Who cares if she had to stop and put together her own forks? You know, like in those days you had to like forge your own metal forks. And she did have like some problems that required a lot of fixing, and so she straggled in kind of late. That's probably a wartime bicycle, and I'm going to be all over the map. Just run some more, yeah. I think that the women on bikes are inherently beautiful. This one is in German. It's a German poster. It says, "We are strong, beautiful, and sensuous." But I wanted to have a different caption, just because in German you don't read German. Next. Beauty naps are passé. Beauty rides are in vogue. So, you know what, I'm really into advertising. If I could just tweak the way the advertising goes, like if I could get people to think cars are really stupid, I would do a lot to make that happen. Next. So, policy reflects autocentric culture. Well, that's true. There's the ad. See, the guy's like, and it says, reality sucks. Luckily, the GM called discount, doesn't it? Next. So then, Giant Bicycle says, reality does suck. Luckily, bicycles don't. Next. Frances Willard, she's one of my major heroes. She founded the Women's Christian Temperance Union and runs the foremost fighters for the vote for women. And at the age of 53, when the bicycle wheels went from big and small to equal size, she decided to learn to ride. She was my age, 57, and she was like, because if I can ride, then you can ride. So she made it her job. It took her about a week with 2 strong men to like learn how to, but she did it. And then she wrote a book called, maybe it's the next page, eh? A Wheel Within a Wheel, How I Learned to Ride a Bicycle. And I still don't know how to master those PowerPoint things. This gal, she's also German, Ellen Fletcher, grew up in Germany, and campaigned in Palo Alto for city council or whatever, and she did all of her getting around by bicycle. And notice how crappy the bike infrastructure in the 60s was in Palo Alto. So she got on city council and began enacting rules saying that there shall be showers and bike parking in all construction. So for that, she's a saint. Next. That's her passport. I think of her as a transportation goddess. This is Chris Culver, a friend of mine. She was the executive of the Sonoma Bike Coalition. This is her. She's also a champion downhill racer. Next. Well, this gal, she's been everywhere. Her name is Dervla Murphy, and she's written about 40 books. And I had to make a pilgrimage to meet her, and it doesn't show the full thing I have in my hand. But anyway, she at the age of 19, when her mom died, she'd been taking care of her very sick mother for many, many years, chronically ill mom. She got on her bike and rode to Bombay from Dublin. And then she wrote about it. She actually wrote a lot of letters, and then sold a book called, was it Wheel Within a Wheel, or Full Tilt? Full Tilt. Best book ever written on cycling. Next! So, there's me reenacting my topless finish at the Rock Hopper. Except that this time I kept my top on. I actually had no top for the 1984. And they still couldn't tell I was a woman. Next. So, but you saw the drop bars, right? This was I think of it as a sexist thing because he's like, likes boys with big hands, smokes hella weed, fucks on the first day, non-leather cycling glove because she's a vegan, all this stuff. So but it's great. Real boobs. Been to Europe 4 times, goes to yoga class 3 times a week, letting hair go, eats veggie burritos. Anyway, but it's a damn good thing. So I think do I have my mind next to it? No, that's me naked in the mud. Next. That's me when I was in my prime, among all the there's John Loomis, Jeff, whatever his name is, probably Eric Hyden next to me. But whoever was taking the picture was taking me. Next. Okay, so that's the Sierra. Sorry, the Nevada City thought. No, it's not the Nevada City. It's like Forest Classic. Next, and that's just like, you know, I was a roadie before I should probably tell you about that. Like, why did I get into biking in the first place? Because they allowed beautiful women. Next. In 1981, it became, the word got out that there would be an Olympic road race in Los Angeles for women. First time they'd allow women racing in the Olympics. And at the time, I just finished college. No, 77, I finished college. 84. Yeah, 84 was the Olympic, but the word went out in 81. I was a road racer, I was fledged, I mean, I met Gary Fisher, and everything sort of happened in 1980, 81. Something that Charlie didn't mention, which was a cool tribal gathering every year on Thanksgiving, was the Appetite Seminar. And roughly 50 people in 1980 got together in Fairfax. It happened to be a beautiful day. My friend Daryl and I rode to town. We were the first outsiders. So we provided the first of the outsiders to your tribe. And we were very obvious because we were on road bikes. Daryl had drop bars and very skinny tires. Both of us had hard shell helmets. Nobody wore helmets, but we did. And mine was topped by a toy duck on top, just in case. I thought maybe I might be a conforming type. And mine was a English girl's bike with a basket. And I was gorgeous and young, and Daryl said, you need to meet him. So go introduce yourself to Charlie. Hi, I'm Jacquie Phelan. Go to meet him.
Photograph of that handshake.
Really? I've never seen it.
Yes.
So, and then there's Gary. Go say hi to Gary Fisher and I. Hi, I'm Jacquie Phelan. And Eric Koski, hi, I'm Jacquie Phelan. So that's no problem for me to walk up to strangers and just introduce myself because I had premonition of greatness from a very young age. Next. Wombats Tea Party. Power sharing, no flexing as a stranger, no clicks, top dog rides and slows. I was always in the back when I would lead a ride in the Wombats. Wombats came about in 1987 when my racing career started to tank, partly because the team that I was on didn't want me on it anymore, even though I won all the races. The boys just couldn't handle the weirdo. And since the boys got to like vote me on the island, I got voted off. And I responded with a rather powerful depression that manifested as I can't get off the couch for like a whole year. Perfect time to get some women who can't get out of the door on their bikes, because when you're super strong, you kind of want to ride with people who are better than you. But when you can't pry yourself off the couch, you're like, who's going to ride with me? Oh yeah, all the women in Orange County. So I would go, whenever I'd ride, I'd just hand out cards saying, ride with T following, please come on a ride. They're like, oh, they'd look at me and just go, I can't ride with you. I promise, you'll be fine. So eventually the club sort of gathered a little momentum, and it actually did get to the point where there were 900 paying members in the mid-90s. But I am at least as bad a businessman as Charlie Kelly, and it's sort of nosedived now, but at least it showed that there's like a room for a place where people that don't want to beat somebody down a hill or come home extremely broken could just like go and have fun on the bike. And so I reframed it as a pastime rather than a sport. So I almost don't use the word sport, even though I'm like a total jock. But when I was growing up, my sister and I were the academics, and all my brothers, 4 brothers, were the jocks, and they were all city runners and quite strong. I inherited a physically perfect body, so I, could do whatever if I'd ever known. And I did a lot of gymnastics back in junior high. But my parents weren't into like letting me take extra lessons. I have to say I dodged a bullet because I would have learned bulimia and a lot of other weird things because I was short then, but I grew in college with unrestricted calories. So I'm like 2 inches taller and the size you see me now, but I was a little scrawny in high school. So these are like some things that encourage me that like when women get together, great shit happens. And since I'm the top doggette, I get to sort of, by my example, show how it is to be queen, and that is go and meet people, learn their names, honor them with your attention, serve them a little tea, maybe even listen a little, because a lot of sports tends to be, when you're good enough, maybe you can ride with her, but don't come until you think you're good enough. And some people would never even make it to the club because they're just like, I don't know. And I was racing before I even knew how to ride. And my first race was a January 1st race up Mount something or other, San Bruno. And the guys that I used to ride with in those days were just commuters that were also students at City College. And I never saw them in the race, and it turns out I beat them by a minute or two. But I couldn't even touch them when we were riding in Golden Gate Park. I had no idea that if I, you know, like just kind of put myself in the racing mindset and saw tunnel vision, I would have noticed that Alan Wilson was behind me. Because chances are I would have slowed down out of empathy, you know, and that's not a good idea. But, you know, you want to protect the guy's ego and stuff. So I'm really glad that I had tunnel vision for that first race because I won it. And I had to call one of my dad's colleagues. Dad was a psychoanalyst, and he had a wonderful colleague who said, you know, you can go with that. You can be victorious, and you're allowed to own it. Good for you. He also happened to be riding his bike around when I was riding my bike around. Tarzana and Mulholland, down to the beach. I'd see Dr. Rogowski, whatever it was, out there. And I'm like, a grown up on a bike? That is strange, but very cool.